So, Jai Hind everyone. Today we will going to discuss about the topic or the subject that is our the cryptography and network security. Myself, MRIGNAINY KANSAL, the assistant professor of the IT department, will going to discuss the topic related to this subject. So, the topic is the security attacks. Actually, if we are discussing about the security attacks, we are going to transferring the information over the insecure network. So, we require the security when we are performing the transmission from the one end to the another end. So, here the security is the main concern when we are talking about the transmission of the information over the network. In this, the security goals. Now, we will going to discuss about the different security goals in this, which providing the security to the information asset of our modern age has become a matter of supreme importance. The various criteria which we need to be fulfilled with the security goals, that is the confidentiality, integrity and the availability. That is the three goals which is the main objective to be achieved when we are discussing about the security goals. In our organization system, that when we are information is transmission from the one end to the another end, the insecure network is surrounded and the attacks can be performed by the third party. So here we have the main objective is to achieve the confidentiality, the integrity and the availability when we are transferring the information over the insecure network. The network, the data, the information, and the CIA, that is the confidentiality, integrity and the availability trade, is a security model that is designed to guide the policy of the information security within the premises of an organization or the company. When we are talking about any of the organization, the main criteria to be achieved when we having the confidential information, to achieve the integrity, to provide the availability of the information when anyone want to access that. That is the main three goals, the main three the criteria need to be need to be achieved in the information security. Now, in the goals, we discussing about or defining the CIA, that is the confidentiality, the integrity and the availability. So first we will going to discuss about what actually the confidentiality is, why it is actually important to achieve it, why there is a need to succeed it to achieve this confidentiality. So it is a common aspect of the information security. We need to protect our confidential information from the getting leaked into the public. When we are discussing about the confidentiality, we are main focusing about that the information cannot or do not leaked in the public by the different attacks, because that can be easily used by the different aspects. That can be easily used or easily be hacked by the different authorities. So, for example, in the help of the military, confidentiality is related to the national security. In business, certain information always need to be hidden from the competitors, because as we know that in the organization, the competition is a very high aspect, that if the information get be leaked or be disclosed in front of the another organization or the any other third party, will definitely use them, will definitely make them in against you, which is the drawback for the organization, for the society or for the our different projects. It applied to both the storage of the information as well as for the transmission of the information. That means when we are talking about the confidentiality, that need to be in term of the transmission, in term of the transmission of the information from the one end to the another end. So it will be both, it will be helpful for the both while we are transferring them the information in the both storage of the information as well as for the transmission. Next goal which need to be achieved, which need to be very precious about when we are talking about the security, the information security, that is the integrity. Now we will discuss that what actually the integrity is. In the information security, the integrity in the means the maintaining and assuring the accuracy and the completion of the data over its entire life cycle. That means the completion of the information, maintaining that accuracy, maintaining that complete maintenance or the completion of the overall information for that particular entire life cycle which is already defined. It means that that the changes can be done only by the authorized entities and only through the authorized mechanism. That means the mechanism which is to be actually followed for the specific data, that means the changes can be done only by the authorized entity, that could not be changed by the any other person. Now the next one is securing the integrity of the data is extremely important, because integrity will lead you no tampering, no changes in the information. For example, if you see that the any of the information sending you of some data, that sending some amount of 1000 rupees, somebody tampered with the integrity of the transaction, but actually the amount which is sent is 1 lakh, which will be the major drawback when we are talking about the information to be transferred from the one end to the another end. Next, the data can also be lost due to the natural reason like the power storage outage or the flood. That is also one of the reasons that can lead to the loss of the information, which cannot be tolerable when we are discussing about the different field of the security, like the military, like any other where the competitors are there, and we do not want to be leaked or to be tampering of any information in the term of the security. Next, the availability, the third goal which is defined when we are discussing about the information security, that is the availability. Availability define of the information which is referred to ensuring the authorized entities get information which actually needed. That means the information need to be available at the time which is actually it is required. At the time it is required, it need to be available at that point of time for the one which is to be used. And information which is stored and maintained in is useless if it is not available at it is when it is actually needed. We have lot of amount of information, but it should be available when it is actually needed by the another authority or the another party. Denial of this access of information has become a popular mode of the cyber attack, that is known as a distributed denial of services. That we are actually seeing that the denial of a service attack is day by day is found everywhere. That means we want the information to be available, but at that point of time the services are getting denied, and actually the at the time of the time constraint we do not get the actual information, which is not very right. As like in a military area, if we want some specific information at a specific point of time, that time the information need to be available. As in a banking area, if we want any of the services to be done at that specific point of time, it should be available at that point, a specific point of time. If it is not available at that time, that lead to a very severe damages or any loss of the information which is actually required at that specific point of time. Next, now we are discussing about the three different goals, the three different security goals, that is the confidentiality, integrity and the availability. But how we actually achieve this, how we actually make them to be in our control, that we are ensuring that the security goals, these all the three parameters are with us, that is CIA. The mechanism, the different mechanisms are used, the different techniques are used to actually achieve these goals. First is the confidentiality. We are actually achieving the confidentiality by the different techniques which in which these two are the popular one, that is the encipherment and the routing control. Next is the integrity. We can also achieve the integrity by encipherment, the digital signature and the data integrity. And another one is the availability. Availability can be easily achieved by the help of creating the backups, the routing control. So these are the different security goals we can easily achieve by the help of the different mechanism. As we know, in the encipherment we are actually change the data. If we are sending the data from the one end to the another end, we are not actually sending the data in the original form. We are changing the mode of the data, changing the actual content of the data at the one end, that is the encipher of the data, and at the another end we are decrypt that data, that is the encipherment. So that in between, if any attacker want to read that data, want to modify that data cannot be done, and we can easily achieve the confidentiality. Integrity, by the help of the digital signature, we integrate that information with the digital signature and authenticate that yes, the information which is sent by the sender is actually the same which is received by the receiver. That will be achieved by the help of the integrity. Now the availability. By availability means we are not suffering from the denial of the service attack or the different type of attacks which is already available in the market, so which make the deny of any of the services, deny of any of the information at the particular point of time. Now we will discussing about the three different aspects of the information security. The three different aspects are the security attacks, the security mechanism, and the security services. What the attacks are? Actually, any of the action that is comprises of the security of information. That means we are discussing about the attack. That means we are sending the information from the one end to the another end. Okay, but the third party try to either read that information or try to change that information. That is the we are compromising with the security. We are not maintaining the confidentiality. We are not maintaining the integrity. We are not maintaining the availability of that information, and attacks can be easily done over the information or over the data which is transmitted over the internet, over the network. Next one is the mechanism. How the mechanism are actually designed to detect, to prevent, and to recover from the security attacks. We know that we have different type of attack. We know that we have to be three different goals we need to be achieve that. But how we will going to achieve that? How we will going to prevent that attacks? That can be done by the help of the different security mechanism which is available, by the help of the encipherment, changing the information when we are trying to send it from the one end to the another end, change the data and make them decrypted by the different type of keys, which we'll be going to discuss in the upcoming different videos to how we will do the encipherment. Next is the security services. The services, actually what the services is, a services that enhance the security of the data processing system and the information transfers. That means a services which will just enhancing the security. That means while we are transferring the information from the one end to the another end, and we are trying to enhance the security while providing the services to them, make use of one or more security mechanism, we can easily find the security services. We can easily get the security services to be done. Now, as we are discussing the brief detail about the security attacks in this video, we are going to discussing about each and every attack, what the different attacks are available, what the different type of way the actually the attacker trying to hack the information while they are transferring from the one end to the another end. So security attacks can be defined as any action that compromises the security of information owned by an organization. The security attack aimed to compromise the 5 major security goals for the network security, which extend from the CIA requirements also. We have discussed about the 3 different goals in terms of to prevent from the security attacks. But actually the security attacks is we are trying to compromise with the information. We are make the another attacker to actually take the information in between the network. We compromise with the security of our organization. We are giving the chance to the another person, to the third party, to easily own that information and use them against us. In the at the time of the military, at the time of the political information, at the time of the country information, when we are transferring from the one end to the another end, we are very focusing about the security. And the attackers are trying to hack the information, which will make them lead to misuse them and try to threaten the organization. So, to not to compromise with the security, we are extended the security goals. Previously, we studied only the 3 requirements, that is the confidentiality, availability, and the integrity. But now we will going to discuss the 5 different major security goals are, which is the confidentiality, availability, authentication, integrity, and the non-repudiation. We have already discussed what is confidentiality, that we do not want to leak our information in between. We have already discussed about the availability, that means at the time we require the information, it should be available at that point of time only. We are also discussing about the authentication, integrity, that means we are not tolerate any tampering or any changes in the information. It should be same as it is sent by the sender and received by the receiver. But the authentication means that is the message which is sent by the sender, it should be the authentic person, and received by the receiver should be authentic receiver. Non-repudiation means that once the receiver will receive the information, should not deny that I am not receiving it. So this should be also the part of the security attacks. So these are the 5 different goals of the security attacks which need to be fulfilled by the different criteria, which should be actually main goals by the organization to be achieved when they are moving the information over the network. Now, what are the different type of the attacks are available? There are mainly 2 different classification of the attack, which is the active attack and the passive attack. When we are talking about the security attacks in term of the information transmission from over the network, the active attack involves some modification of the data streaming or any creation of the false streaming, which can be subdivided into 5 different categories. Active means actively participated by the attacker. They are not just reading the information, they are also change that information. They only don't want to use that information, they also mislead the receiver that the information which is sent by the sender is actually not received by the receiver. They are the tampered information, they are the actually change information, which is the actual motive of the attacker. They only don't want to be the reader of the information and make them use for the further information, but they also make them change and mislead the receiver so that it is not actually the actual data which is sent by the sender. 5 different categories which is defined in the active attack are masquerade, modification of the messages, repudiation, the replay, denial of service, man in the middle, and distributed denial of service attack. These are some of the categories which is come under the active attack, where they are not only read the message, also alter the message. Now, the another classification of the attack, that is known as the passive attack. What is passive attack? Where the attacker are passively participate in doing the attack. That means they are just monitoring that information, they are just actually reading that information, they are not changing it. The passive attack are in the nature of the eavesdropping on or monitoring of or the transmission, and can be subdivided into 2 different categories, that is the release of the message content, snooping, traffic analysis, and the eavesdropping. The passive attack take the passive participation while doing the attack. They are not actively participate. Active and a passive major difference. In an active attacker, they change the information. They don't want the receiver receive the actual information, but the passive attack do not change any information, do not make any modification. They just read the information and use them against the organization. Now, this is the diagram where we will going to see that how the different threats are. 2 major categories, the passive attack and the active attack. And in the passive attack, 2 major different categories, that is the release of the message content and the traffic analysis. Whereas in the active threat, there are 4 different categories defined here. More than 4 are also there. That is the masquerade, the replay, modification of the message content, and the denial of service attack. And many more are there, is already introduced. We will going to be studied about the different threats which is available in the market, trying to attack the information in the market with the different way of doing it. One by one, we will going to explore this. Now, here we will going to discuss about the first type of the attack in the active attack, that is the masquerade. As we already studied, the active attack attempt to alter the system resources or affect their operations. The active attack involves some modification of the data streaming or the creation of the false system statements. So different attacks. The first attack is your masquerade. Here we with the help of the diagram we will going to discuss that how the masquerade attack is. Here the Jack, the Daniel friend will going to the Daniel is trying to write a message from get the message from the hacker that appear to be from the Jack. Actually, the masquerade attack is the intruder pretend to be a particular user of the system to gain the greater privileges than that are authorized for. Masquerade assault may be performed using stolen the password or login through finding the security gaps in the program or through bypassing the authentication mechanism. Here, the attacker trying to sending the message as become a Jack is a friend of a Daniel and sending the message to them, mislead them, trying hacking the information by or sending the message to the Daniel by actually hacking the password or getting the login of the system of the Jack and send the message to the Daniel. This is the most popular information, the attack which we are actually seeing in our day-to-day life, that we are getting the different message. They are pretended that they are actually come from the authentication, but actually they are not. We are getting the different very hacked messages from they are pretend that the message come from the bank, but actually they are not coming from the bank. So these are the masquerade attack which are seem to be authenticated, but they are not authenticated. Next attack is the modification of the messages. Active attack is most popularly to modify the message. That means it means that some portion of a message was altered or that message is delayed or recorded to produce an unauthorized effect. Modification is an attack on the integrity of the original data. It basically means that the unauthorized parties not only gain the access to the data but also spoof the data by triggering the denial of service attack, such as altering the transmitted data packet or flooding the network with the fake data. Here we can see the simple example, that is the Bob is trying to send some message to the Alice, but through the help of the internet. Here the Dirt, who is the attacker, will try to take the message from the Bob, make some alteration in the message and then send it to the Alice. So here the integrity of the message get lost. The message which is the original message come from the Bob is not originally received by the Alice. So this is also one of the threat which is occur in the active attack. Third is the repudiation. What the repudiation is in an active attack? That is, this attack occur only when the network is not completely secured or the login control has been tampered with. With this attack, the author's information can be changed by action of a malicious user in order to save the false data in the log file, up to the journal manipulation of the data on behalf of the other, and similar to the spoofing of the email messages too. In a repudiation attack, false information may be given or real events or the transaction may be denied. Electronic information is more susceptible to the repudiation attack. That information is in a physical form. That means non-repudiation, when someone is trying to hack your password, taking your login credential, just altering the information and make them there. They want to change the information by taking the login control. Number of time we see this. Someone hack our WhatsApp, someone hack our Gmail, trying to change the data. Someone hack the password of our specific system, alter the data and keep it there. They are actually having the motive to just change the actual information. They are having the motive to false the information, which is help them to not actually getting the originality of the information. This is the attack which is the popularly as an active attack, that is repudiation. Next is the replay. It involves the passive capture of a message and its subsequent transmission to produce an authorized effect. In this attack, the basic aim of the attacker is to save a copy of the data originally present on that particular network and later on use this data for the personal uses. Once the data is corrupted or leaked, it is insecure and unsafe for the users. Here we have an example where Lily, which is using the internet, Bob captures the message and resend it and can be sent the multiple time to the John. They are actually involved in passive capturing of the message. They are taking the authorization effect of this message, and aim of the attacker is to save that copy of the originality, and later on they can use this for their personal work. Later on they can use for their personal usage, or make them take the advantage of that information and threaten the originality of the original or authentication person to make them unsecure, to make them uncomfortable when their actual message is going to be leaked by the different attacker. So this is one of the another active attack, that is your replay attack. Now another attack, the fifth one, is the denial of service attack. It prevents or the inhibits the normal use or management of the communication facilities. This attack may have a specific target. For example, they choose the target and do the work. For example, we having the entity may suppress all the messages directed to a particular destination. Another form of the service denial is the disruption of the entire network, either by enabling the network or by overloading its message so that it degrades the performance. Actually, the denial of service attack is the attack which will affect the availability of the information. They try to capture the complete server whenever the authentication receiver or an authentication person try to access some services over the over the server. The services get be denied because the entire network is already captured with the hack information or with the flood of data by the active attack, that is known as a denial of service attack, which is one of the popular active attack which is done most probably in every area nowadays in our surrounding. Here the example how they are actually capturing the information. Now the another active attack is a man in the middle attack. In this case, the attacker replay the communication between the victim, in each case preventing to be the other legitimate correspondent. The attacker therefore trying to interrupt all the messages and is able to modify them before the transmission to be true recipient. Man in a middle attack are hard to prevent from a theoretical perspective. By definition, all password based protocol including the OTPs and therefore vulnerable to the man in a middle attack. Man in a middle attack, actually we can see that in the diagram that the victim is trying to send some information to the server, but the attacker is not able to make them to actually send it to them. The actual information is goes through the help of through the attacker. It's not directly to the server. So that is this is how the actually the man in a middle attack. The name as itself gives the complete definition that the attack is done in between the user and the server, or between the two different users. They are trying to mislead the information, they are trying to getting the information, they are trying to listen that information, they are just trying to modify them. They are not able the actual information to be reached to the actual receiver. They are in between the network and trying to hack them to make them use for their own purpose benefit. And it's very hard to prevent them because everything seemed to be very okay, everything seemed to be very smoothly run, but actually it is not. Actually it is not as smooth as it is seen. Whatever it is see, actually at the back end it is not done. We are actually receiving the information which is not accurate, which is not actual. So this is the another different type of the active attack which is done here. The another different type of the attack which is actually vulnerable for the server for the different organization which is actually they are serving, they are affecting from. Now the fifth or the active attack, that is your distributed denial of service attack. This is the next version of which we have done or studied here, the denial of service attack. In the distributed denial of service attack, multiple compromised computer system attack a target and cause the denial of services for the user of the targeted resources. The target can be a server, can be a website, or any another network resource. The flood of the incoming messages, connecting requests, and the malformed packets target the system, forces it to be slowed down or even crash and shut down, thereby denying the services to legitimate user or the system. Here, as we have studied about the denial of service attack, that means actually it is the main attack or the threaten to the goal of the security, that is the availability. The services which actually available at the time we are requiring it is not available at that particular point of time. Now in this, the distributed denial of service attack, which is one of the popularly known attack nowadays, is having a multiple compromises with the multiple system at a time. They are targeting the number of systems, cause the denial of services to each and everyone at the same point of time. The targeted may have any of the server, any of the website, any of the information. They completely capture the network. They flood with the messages, the fake messages, and try to make them not available for any other actual requirement, for any other actual information. So this can be done. Now we will going to have the another topic, that is the passive attack. This is one of the another classification. So the passive attack to learn or make use of the information from the system but does not affect the system resources. So in this type there is a one different topic, that is the release of the message content. The telephonic conversation and an electronic mail messages or a transferred file may contain the sensitive or confidential information. We will like to prevent an opponent from learning the content of these transmission. This is the passive attack with just the information to be read. Another, traffic analysis. The attacker tried to analyze the traffic. Suppose that we had a way to masking information so that the attacker, even if capture the message, could not extract any information from the message. The opponent could determine the location, identify the communication host, and observe the frequency and length of the message being exchanged. So this is how the traffic can be analyzed by the help of the passive attack. Eavesdropping. Try the attacker simply listen the message exchanged by the two entities. For the attack be useful, the traffic must be encrypted and unencrypted information by the reason of the HTTP request or retrieve the attack. So the next, the different type of the security mechanism we will going to discuss in the next upcoming videos. Thank you.